We're going to have to talk about the England team, I'm afraid. England were 90 seconds away from that embarrassing exit before Jude Bellingham produced that moment of genius, I think, to keep us in the tournament. Probably kept Southgate in his job as well, Glenn. I mean, 63% possession, 2 shots on target. It all sounds a bit familiar, but I'll be honest, I nodded off during the game. It was terrible.
I just slumped further and further down in my chair to the point where I was lying down, and it was so bad. It's just so bad. There was just nothing in the performance whatsoever, and then that goal happens, and because I was in my slumped position, I didn't jump up and fall over or anything like that. You just sort of like, oh, we got extra time, here we go. And then once that goal went in, I knew we were going to win. But even then, we managed to make the last 15, 20 minutes absolute murder by doing going full Southgate and trying to defend the edge of our penalty area. So it was a horrible game to watch with just 2 brilliant moments in it. I mean, we had a few near misses with like Rice hitting the post and Phil Foden brainlessly getting himself caught offside before putting the ball in the net. But overall, it just the whole game just did my head in, the performance. I mean, what are we? Are we a counter-pressing team? Are we, a front foot team? Are we a high press team? We're nothing. We're nothing. We're a team that has no pattern of play, and we rely on individual players to come up with brilliant moments, and that's got us here because we've been playing teams that are not very good. We've just about got away with it, but if we play like that in the next round, we're coming home. It's as simple as that. We have to play better because you just can't rely on those brilliant moments to happen. But take away the negativity. Won the game. That's what it's about. It's about getting through, and they did. And every sort of pundit that you read or hear says exactly the same thing. Like we have nothing, but we've managed to win, and it's just a trying experience being an England fan. I mean, I don't know how Steve and the guys who go regularly to the game. I don't know how you, full respect for doing it. Being a Saints fan and an England fan, Steve, you deserve some sort of medal. And yeah, it's. But when it all goes well, it's when you win the games, there's always that hope that they're going to turn up against Switzerland and play a lot better and look like a cohesive team. But I wouldn't put money on it at all.
Steve, I wasn't joking when I said you've literally just got in. Have you? You've just got back from Germany. I mean, how was it for you in the ground? Because at the end, everyone was singing "Sweet Caroline" and filming videos, and obviously limbs when Harry Kane's goal goes in. So, what was it like for you being there and watching that one?
I mean, it was mostly awful. Let's be honest. Yeah, and yeah, there just didn't seem to be anything. There was no energy, no cohesion, and even the good player, even the best players that we know that we've got, these world-class players. I mean, Kane's basically done nothing all tournament, and yet somehow he scored 2 goals. Bellingham was completely anonymous for pretty much the entirety of the game until that 95th minute incident. But that's I mean, he's been doing that all season for Real Madrid. I think that's 6 injury time goals that he scored this season that have been deciders in games. So either an equaliser or a winner.
2 of them were in El Clasico, weren't they? So.
Yes, yeah. Both El Clasicos decided by him in injury time, which is pretty extraordinary. Clearly a guy for the moments. Although maybe grabbing his bollocks while he was running back, gesturing at the bench may not have been the wisest move, because it looks
that
like
might come back to haunt him.
Yeah, UEFA seem to be taking a dim view of it, which is strange, given that Cristiano Ronaldo did more or less the same thing 5 years ago and basically got away with it. But hey ho, that's what Cristiano Ronaldo does in his life. But yeah, the atmosphere was just bizarre. It was it was supportive for the most part, but then there were these little pockets where things like we'd have like a 5-minute spell where we looked as if we were vaguely getting our act together, and then a move would break down, and then you kind of get a little bit of that sort of slump in the sort of mood in the fan base. And I mean, there's a lot of people there who are not shy of voicing their opinion. Let's be brutally honest. And I think, given what the team has served up in a lot of these games against pretty mediocre opposition, let's be brutally honest.
Yeah.
I mean, even Denmark are crap. Let's be fair. They beat San Marino 2-1 a year ago. They're nothing special themselves. And yeah, we've kind of stumbled our way through. Defensively, actually, weirdly, until last night, we've looked fine. Last night, suddenly we looked all at sea. Carl Walker seemed to
Carl
forget.
Walker, my word.
Yeah, I mean, for all that Trent Alexander-Arnold rightly gets kind of panned for looking a little bit suspect defensively, that performance from Carl Walker last night was just extraordinary. And you just think, I mean, like, you get in at half time, and Southgate could easily have made all 5 of his subs at half time. You could have basically been that dramatic and just said, right, nuclear option, going to take both fullbacks off, going to take Foden off, and yeah, you could have done a couple of others as well. Could have even have taken Kane off, really, for all the impact.
Tony on.
Yeah, I mean, given what Tony then subsequently did when he did when he was on, that's exactly the sort of role that you want your centre forward doing when you're a goal up, because I think he won 4 free kicks in his half an hour on the pitch, and it just released so much pressure. Like, the ball stuck to him. Whenever we cleared anything, he was there. He was winning the ball, keeping it, and either bringing someone else into play, or he was getting fouled and he was winning a free kick, and that then wasted a little bit of time. I thought Konza was good when he came on. So that, I mean, personally, I would just bin off the idea of Trippier now that it's not working. It's far too predictable, and I mean, Konza's right-footed as well, but at least maybe he might, or Gomez, because obviously with Gehi being suspended, which is a pain because he's been our best player.
Really good. Yeah,
He's been our best player all tournament.
And that was totally down to Trippier.
Yes, yeah, he gave him a proper hospital pass. What was that? 2 minutes in,
Yeah.
and he's then on a sort of treading on eggshells for the remainder, which is frustrating, especially given the way that ref was handing out cards in the first 25 minutes. I thought there was absolutely no way we were ending 11 aside, but somehow they managed it. But I mean, in terms of the fan base, I mean, they'd already turned in injury time, because when that substitution was made in the 93rd minute, that prompted a load of "you don't know what you're doings," which we've not had before under Southgate, I don't think. And I mean, as it turned out, maybe he did know what he was doing, but I don't know whether it was by luck or judgment. But Tony just being there was a distracting force from that throw-in. And then he did what you want your centre forward to do for the whole of extra time, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, taking Foden off, I mean, that should have happened way before. I mean, I think he's a fantastic player, but you can't put him and Bellingham in the same team, I don't think.
It's the new Lampard and Gerrard, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah.
It's looking
well,
that way.
and also Bellingham has already justified his place in the team because he's contributed. Phil Foden has done precisely nothing in an England shirt. So therefore, I think you've got to. I mean, Southgate probably won't make the call on Saturday, I wouldn't have thought. But whoever, I mean, let's be brutally honest, Southgate is done after this tournament, you would think.
Yeah.
Whoever takes over, their first job is going to be right, Phil Foden, you're sat on the bench. Sorry. Until you demonstrate that you can help the team out in some way and show the form that you show at club level, when you're in an England shirt and when you're alongside Bellingham, who ultimately plays that position a lot better than he does. Then yeah, you've got to take a bold approach, and you've got to be brave with that decision. And it's going to be an unpopular selection, obviously, but until he can demonstrate that he's able to do it, then yeah, Bellingham's got the shirt.
Do you think, Alfie, we just got to accept that this is how we play with Southgate? The plan is obviously defend deep, keep the ball, and then try and win it with a moment of class, and I hope to God that Bellingham or Kane gets the goal, because it's not pretty to watch. And it just seems to me that we don't really know as a team what they're trying to do, or there's not that identity.
Yeah, I mean, I accepted that weeks ago. I think coming into the tournament, I think it was pretty obvious that's what we were going to do. And I listened to Gary Neville on Sky Sports today, and he sort of made the case for and against it. And there's arguments that it's not the worst thing to do in the world. Obviously, I completely agree with Steve that we are going to have a change in direction after this tournament. I think even if we win the tournament, which obviously we're going to have to improve a lot to do, I think Gareth Southgate will walk away as a winner rather than a loser, but he won't stay again, because I think this tournament has probably been such a tiring process for him.
He's not enjoying it, is he? You can tell.
Exactly. And you can actually see the relief on him when they scored the goals, and it was the same sort of relief I had in the pub. So I wasn't ready for it to end at this point. But I mean, the biggest thing that me and Steve have spoken about this in a group chat with Glen a little bit, is the difference in the way that we're playing out. I understand the limitation on the left side, because Trippier's coming back in every single time, and you don't really have a willing runner on that side either. But we've seen for 6 years under Gareth Southgate that when you have these back two, Harry Maguire is more than willing to step into midfield. He sort of breaks that first line, and then you have someone like Declan Rice. They move a bit further forward, and all of a sudden you're higher up the pitch. But right now, all we're having is Rice, whoever it is, just come back and receive the ball off the centre-backs, and then they've got the whole pitch in front of them. There's no movement. There's nothing in front of them. But we've seen John Stones do that for Man City for half a decade. So I can't understand why they haven't just tweaked that, so that John Stones is the one that's now breaking in and stepping into midfield and just making things happen in front of him, giving Rice an option to run off on. So yeah, there's obviously big problems in the way that I think they're playing out, and that's what's causing the issue. And at the end of the day, teams have a right to be good at football. The opposition, although they're average, they have a right to be in the game and to have a chance. So I don't think you're guaranteed to win every game 2-0. We are still in the tournament, which everyone keeps saying, but we have to improve. We have to improve massively. And yeah, I think I agree with Steve that Gareth Southgate has sort of, in this occasion, lucked himself into a managerial masterclass in the last minute of the game, because I'd have taken Kyle Walker off about half an hour ago, and it was his throw-in that, obviously, his long throw that led to the equaliser. Bringing Tony on, I mean, I wouldn't have seen the point of that with a minute to go. And like I said, he impacted in both goals. I mean, he had Eze playing left back at one point, and he made an unbelievable clearance on the goal line to keep it. I just think everything that was a little bit weird just seemed to work. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is to the Trippier thing, because I think Trippier went off injured as well, didn't he, Steve? So we'll have to see whether he's fit or not. But if he isn't, I mean, I don't want Joe Gomez playing. I think that was a pointless take. I don't think he will play. If I'm being honest, I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to be any better than Kieran Trippier at what he's doing. But you're going to start a quarter-final of a tournament with Bukayo Saka left back? I mean, just because Ian Wright said it on the TV, and that's a bit.
Well, surely Fatty's fit by now.
You think Luke Shaw comes in, do you, Glenn?
No, he won't, because if he was going to play, he would have played the second half of extra time yesterday. If he's not ready to play 15 minutes at the end of a game, yes, I get there's a lot of jeopardy involved in the last 15 minutes of a game when you're 2-1 up. But, they, as you said, they had Eze playing left back. I know they moved him eventually, and when they brought Konza on. So I don't think we're going to see Shaw this tournament, to be honest.
Which makes it even more bizarre that he's gone every game that goes by. Makes it an even more strange decision to take him in the first place.
I'm willing to make a bet with Glenn now that we do see Shaw for 20-30 minutes on Saturday. I'm willing to do that. I think we will.
You think so?
Yeah, I think we will. I mean, Jordan Pickford, look, you obviously can't trust really a player, what we say in press, but Jordan Pickford this morning said that Luke Shaw is ready to play now. He was ready to play yesterday, but they decided to not put him on. So I don't think he's going to start, and he's not the solution right now, but I do think we'll see a bit of him, and I hope we do.
I mean, Trippier looked injured when he went off, but at the end of the game, he was jumping around celebrating. So I don't think he's that badly injured. I think he'll be, he'll certainly be available to play. It's just a case of whether he gets picked or not. And with Southgate being who he is, I am pretty certain that Trippier, unless he genuinely can't play, will be playing. I just don't see him
I
changing.
wouldn't be surprised at all if there's one change, and that's Gay out because he has to be out for Conser.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised by that. And I would have said that Gordon in for Foden seems like the obvious thing to do, but then he didn't come on at all. So that doesn't feel like he's going to do that now. And is Eze going to come in for the start?
Cole Palmer's probably the player that has to come in if they're going to freshen up the attacking side of the attacking side of things. So I thought Eze was good when he came on. But I think Cole Palmer will be first in line. It's just a case of whether they decide to bite the bullet on Foden or not.
I'd be intrigued to hear Steve's take on Kobbie Mainoo, though. So I know obviously you've been a little bit reluctant to sort of welcome him into the team with open arms, sort of thing. But what do you think of it? Because he obviously a bit more balanced, and I think he's so raw, but he's clearly quite brave in the way he takes the ball in tight areas, surrounded by 3 or 4 players, and he always seems to get out, which is something that does help you actually beat that bank of 4 every time.
Yeah, I mean, just having that that little bit of movement helps. I mean, one thing that was really bloody annoying last night was obviously from where we were behind the goal, you get a decent tactical view of things, and you can see the pockets of space that players are moving into and the passing sort of lanes, if you like. And the number of times that Mainoo moved, him and Rice, the number of times either one or both of them moved into a space, and Stones or Gahey refused to pass through the lines to them. And both of them were in loads of room. They had so much space that you make that one pass and you've basically taken 3 Slovakian players out of the game.
But they must be told not to do that then. They must be that must
They've done it for 6 years under Gareth Southgate, so I don't believe that at all.
No, I'm kind of,
I don't think they trust Mainoo, basically.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if it's that. I don't know if I wonder if they trust themselves.
I think the pressure's getting to them big time.
Yeah,
this is a tournament.
They're now well, I mean, they're not as we speak, but certainly pre-tournament, we were the bookies' favourites. And like in the past, we've gone into tournaments like 2018. There was no expectation on us. It was like, right, okay, well, we'll finish second in the group, and then we'll lose in the last 16 to Colombia or whoever. And even Euro 2020 with theoretical home advantage, that was a tough group that we thought we had, with the Czech Republic. I mean, lesser about Scotland, but Croatia, Czech Republic and Croatia. That was a difficult group on paper, and we got through that. And then you get Germany, and then you get Ukraine, and then you get Denmark, and then you get Italy, and that wasn't a tournament that I think people thought beforehand that we would win. I think people thought, well, quarterfinals, maybe a semi, but if you get a nice looking draw. But a lot of the fancied sides got dumped out pretty early in that one. And it's only really here. I think Qatar we were genuinely good.
Yeah, we just got unlucky with one game.
Yeah, one game. That game could have gone either way. We were the better team, I thought, for the vast majority of that France game. Yeah, and I think if we'd won that game, we'd have won the tournament.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
just the momentum of it. No, I didn't think Argentina were any good at all. It was that was all pumped up media nonsense that he was some sort of wizard. It was just he was getting like. Anybody who would breathe anywhere near it.
Yeah,
that's a free kick. That's a penalty. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But we would have been no different. Go on.
I got one more question about yesterday. This is for Steve. What was it like in the ground when England executed that perfect free kick where Walker passed it straight to their player with Pickford miles of goal?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I think it Stones that he was passing it to.
Yeah,
he wasn't paying attention.
Stones wasn't watching.
Yeah. I mean, on the TV, Steve, we didn't see it. It just cut to the ball almost flying towards the goal randomly. We don't know what's going on. But I want to actually question who was it that took the free kick, because I thought it was Bellingham, because it looked like it was Bellingham that was basically trying to get the game restarted really quickly, and he knocked it to Stones, thinking, well, I'll just get a quick little give and go, and I'll be on my way.
Yeah,
and obviously Stones wasn't looking, and actually that guy should score.
Yeah.
International professional footballer, open goal, keeper's 40 yards out. You've got to score that. And I mean, if it's 2-0, we got absolutely no chance there.
done, aren't we?
So
Yeah.
just
What
wanted to touch
was
back
the
on
reaction? What was the reaction in the crowd at that one? Because I just thought that must have been hilarious.
I mean, it was bizarre because I mean everyone's obviously kind of sort of spitting feathers of varying sort of anger levels, but it was odd. It was like, because at that point you can't blame that on Gareth Southgate, and that was
No.
what everyone was trying to pin everything on Southgate previously. But that individual moment, you can't pin that on the manager. That is an individual doing something so utterly brain dead
Yeah.
that it's like, well, you can't blame anyone apart from the individual, and that's when you kind of have this thought of, oh my god, the heads have gone here. This is basically Iceland Mark II.
Yeah.
And in many ways, it was actually worse than Iceland, I would say.
Yeah.
Apart from obviously the end result, and actually, in fairness, we did kind of actually come vaguely strong in the last 10, 15 minutes with the Kane header that he put wide, the Rice shot that they hit the post, and Kane's rebound, which I kind of thought he should have headed that. And then obviously we do then get the equaliser. So I think that was partly Slovakia were knackered. I think they were done with about an hour on the board. But they found the second wind in extra time once we went ahead. Partially because we let them back into it, maybe. But I thought first half of extra time we were pretty good. But that's on a very sort of relative level compared to what had gone the 90 odd minutes before. I did like on the score on the big screen, by the way, that obviously the equalising goal was on 95, and the goal that put us ahead was on 91.
Yeah. And I know we're getting into sort of the 8 p.m. kickoff, but I did want to touch on the pressure thing that I was saying about again, because I think it's pretty obvious that they're trying to do this some kind of siege mentality attitude within the squad, and I think this is something totally different to what we've been used to in the last 6 years. But I mean, how many players have come out and referenced? It was Jude Bellingham yesterday, who I may have even said on the last pod that I think he's going to have his David Beckham mark at some point, where he's the nation's most hated individual because we don't like confidence or arrogance as it comes across. But I mean, he said that the rubbish.
Who else?
Yeah, I mean, who else when he scores? Outrageous, isn't it? I mean, pure adrenaline. But I mean, Declan Rice. Yeah, exactly. But Declan Rice come out and said the same thing in terms of criticism. Harry Kane obviously had that sort of public. It's not a spat, but he answered back to Gary Lineker's criticism. And then Gareth Southgate, he showed the England players before this game something that a Slovakian player said in the press about the fact that they're not together as a team. They're not unified, and they can get out of them that way. And he showed them that apparently in the dressing room to say, look, this is what they think of you. And I think it's notable that this is the sort of route we're going down, and there really is very little goodwill left. Only a tournament win now, I think, can save it. But if the players want to knuckle in and do it that way, if that's what motivates them, then go for it. But I just think it's something notable that we've not seen before.
Have you seen any pundit say anything that was out of order? I haven't.
I felt that the BBC reaction to the Denmark game was over the top at the time. I did think that over the time, but they've obviously ended up being proven right by the successive performances that followed. But I did think it was over the top at the time. We were top of the group. We drew our second game, and it wasn't the worst we've ever seen
against the hardest.
Yeah,
that was the hardest game we were going to have.
Yeah, and we had 15 minutes of analysis on why Harry Kane should be playing for England, and I was sat there thinking, like, "Whoa, come on!"
Oh yeah, that was bizarre.
So that's what I think. That was my thought. But then
Michael Richards and Rio Ferdinand, wasn't it? Yeah, not
Thomas Frank just sat there in the middle thinking, well, I'm glad these two aren't on my coaching staff because they ain't got a fucking clue.
There's a lot of airtime to fill, isn't there? A lot of podcasts, a lot of newspapers to fill. We have gone from, we were favourites to win the tournament, and now we're second favourites to win the game at the weekend. But we'll see. Before we finish, I just want to do who's impressed you the most? Who do you think's going to go on and make the final, Steve? You've seen more games than any of us.
I don't know. I mean, Austria and Switzerland have both been good, but I do wonder whether they've got it in them to actually go far in the tournament. It's very different impressing in group games, and I mean, in Switzerland's case, against an absolutely pathetic Italy in their round of 16 game. It's a very different thing going deep in a major tournament, and neither of those sides have ever done it. So, yeah, I don't know in that sense. I mean, I'd rule out the Dutch, to be honest. I don't think. Defensively, they're a mess. I mean, the goals they conceded against Austria were absolutely pathetic. So yeah, I mean, from our half the draw, there's not a huge amount to look at, which is
Go
why
on, say it.
it's coming home. Which is why actually the fact that we've been so god awful to watch for the most part, it's weird that it's still there's still got to be some level of confidence there that we can still get through these games, because what you see from the opposition, I mean they're better organised than we are at the moment. That's absolutely clear. But in terms of ability, if our players turn up and they play, then nobody in our half of the draw should be able to live with us. But problem is we haven't been putting those performances in. And that's not just the manager, that's down to the individuals as well. I mean, individuals got to take a bit of personal responsibility themselves as well, rather than just letting the manager take all the stick. Second half, the other half of the draw looks fairly brutal. Germany showed against Switzerland actually that they can be got at if you're willing to attack them. Denmark looked reasonably decent against them, and before the storm hit. So I don't think they got home advantage, which obviously counts for a fair bit. But they've got Spain next, and I mean, if Spain can combine the kind of the play that they've been putting together with actually sticking the ball in the back of the net, which they finally obviously managed to do last night against Georgia. Like the Italy game, I mean that by anybody's sort of reasonable metric should have been 5 or 6-0. It was that one-sided, but they only scored one. There was an own goal. I mean, own goal's been doing a roaring trade in this tournament. It's been incredible. Hasn't it?
Speaking of own goals, Alfie, France have stumbled through as well. I mean, I dread to think what the French podcasts and media are saying.
Well, they're the same as us, aren't they? They're a collection of incredible footballers managed by a tactically limited manager who kind of has previously fostered a squad where people actually wanted to give the time of day to each other. Because I mean, it's basically since pre-Deschamps that France used to have their annual, every single tournament they'd
meltdown.
They'd have an absolute meltdown on the training ground. Someone would get sent home.
Patrice Evra's, whatever it is.
It'd be an absolute shit show. But he's kind of galvanized them and got them together, and it looks as if he's kind of reached the same point as Southgate in terms of perhaps kind of reaching the end of the line, and they need a bit of a refresh as well.
Refresh as well.
So this is a guy who actually wins tournaments.
One.
One.
One. I mean, I look at obviously the winner of Spain and Germany. To me, looks like it would be the favourite. But at this point, it's pointless predicting, because the French could turn up at any point, just like we could. And Portugal have got a good squad as well, even though they always tend to do not as well as everyone thinks they should. They've got a brilliant squad. So that other half of the draw is ruthless. But we should be in the final. I think that's the expectation that I've set myself now for Gareth Southgate, and not that he gives a shit what I think, and for this team.
Well, he might.
He might. Well, to be fair, I might well be one of his last remaining supporters at some point soon.
He's referenced every other journalist.
Yeah, he probably should start caring. But I set myself the minimum expectation now. We get to the final, and I'll be relatively satisfied as a fan. But we have to get to the final in our half of the draw.
So if we get to the final, Glenn, who are we going to face?
I have zero expectation of getting past Switzerland, and if we do, I'll have zero expectation of getting past Austria. I have absolutely zero expectation of. But if somehow we manage to bundle our way through, I think we'll end up playing Spain. Spain looked terrifying.
I mean, are we going to have a 16-year-old kid?
That could be a bloodbath.
Are we going to have a 16-year-old child as player of the tournament? Is that genuinely a possibility? I mean, maybe Rodri.
Well, he can't score goals, can he? If he adds goals to his game, that your foul, is it? Ridiculous. Ridiculous. But Nico, the one weakness Spain have got is Morata up front, and that's probably the reason why they don't score the goals that they should. But they look terrifying when they attack.
Refreshing to see two wingers just go for it constantly.
Yeah, I was
very un-Spanish as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I watched their game against Georgia, and I know it's Georgia, but they were playing in a low block, basically. I mean, it was funny when they scored, because it was like literally the first time they'd got in their half. But it was a lesson from Spain of how to play against the low block, using the wingers, hugging the touchlines, then basically running headlong at the defence, committing defenders. It was marvellous to watch, and they were brilliant. Whilst it was funny while Georgia were ahead, I was, from a football purist point of view, it was nice that Spain got over the line because they were just so good. I look forward to watching them against Germany because it's always funny seeing the Germans get hammered, especially at home. One of my favourite games ever was when they lost to Italy in the semi-finals. What was it, 2006?
2006, yeah.
At home. It's just marvellous game to watch that was. So, and I was spitting feathers with all the VAR nonsense that Germany got in their favour.
Let's not get into that.
Against Denmark.
English officials again.
Yeah,
we'll save that for another week, shall we?
And at risk of getting a bit tinfoil hat, there's no way on this green earth that those decisions would have been given the other way around.
Yeah, correct.
No way.
Even
So that was horrible. So I hope Spain horribly dismantle Germany. Someone else can knock France out, and we'll have a Southgate tactical masterclass in the final against Spain. And it's coming home.
You heard it here first.